Hello and welcome to Ice Dice. My name's Evan and this is Mike.
Hello!
And today we're going to be looking at what are supposed to be September 2015 releases. One caveat is that you can't always be guaranteed. When I put this together, it looked like they were being released in September, but I have had in the past happen where I pre-ordered something and on the day of its release, it was delayed by 2 weeks. But keep an eye out on these. If they're not coming out in September, they should be coming out fairly soon. So the first one we're going to take a look at is actually a re-release, which is Fire and Axe: A Viking Saga. Now this came out in 2004 originally. It's been hard to get. It's a game for 3 to 5 players. It takes roughly 100 minutes with the theme of Vikings, and it's a pick up and deliver with action point games. The way this game works is that you get 7 actions per turn. You can, if you're at your home port, you can pick up some goods. Otherwise, to move on each sea space costs you 1 action point. However, there's also weather that once you reach that many travel spaces, you will lose a crew if you continue to travel. If you're at a foreign port, you can either trade a good from your boat into the city, you can raid to try to take goods away from them, you can settle it, which is like raiding except it's rolling your dice one at a time. You decide how many you are going to roll, and you just get 1 chance to either succeed or fail. There's also some rune cards that let you affect other players. There's saga cards, which are like mission cards, and that actually is the core of the game, is trying to complete those missions. So, and at the end of the game, you get bonus points for the settlers you've placed, plus bonus points for the player that captured the most cities, and most of 3 categories of saga cards. Whoever has the most points wins. So that gives you a rough idea how it's played. But this is, I believe, the same game as the 2004. It's just a new version. And that older version was a grail game for some people. I actually just saw the other day that somebody's still trying to sell a copy on Amazon for over $200.
$200? Well, that might have to do with the fact that it has an excellent name, Fire and Axe. Woo! And the 2015 version has same game, different version. For reasons unbeknownst to me, they put full wood paneling on the board for the 2015 version. I don't even know what that's about, because I don't think about fine wood grain Vikings. I don't get it.
I like it. I think it looks good. It looks like an ancient piece of painted wood. I think that it is a graphic upgrade in my opinion. It must be a matter of taste though. I see you don't agree.
It's like, yeah, it was like putting the wood grain on the side of your side of your station wagon. So back in the day, when this was the hotness, the 3-word phrase that people would use is a trade, raid, or settle. That was what you did in this game, right? Trade, raid, or settle. And you notice that the word missing there is fight. The fighting in this game is just, you roll dice and you can change the number that you have to beat, but the fighting isn't really that big of a part of the thing. It's basically exploring and flipping chits to get points and doing the sagas or sagas in order to score the points. So that's the thing in this game.
Yeah, you're right. And I have heard people complain that they expect you should be able to attack the other players, but in this game you don't. You only attack those foreign settlements that are out there. And the other thing about this game that is there is a bit of randomness to it. I mean, how much the cities are worth when you pick them up. And, well, the saga card's not quite so much because it is a queue that you get to choose from. But there's a lot of dice rolling. So what's your interest in this game?
Mildly. It'll be fine. I mean, sure. If somebody paints some minis, it'd be great.
Oh, that would be awesome. I've had this on my wish list forever, but I was not willing to pay that $100. I don't know if I'll pick it up, but I am interested in trying to play it again, because I thought it was an alright game. The next game is Queen's Architect, which we talked about a bit in our post-Gen Con video, so we're not going to go into a ton of detail. But it's from Queen Games, 2 to 4 player, 60-minute game about medieval builders. There's rondel, action selection, and resource management. So the way it works is everybody has their own little board that they move their player on, and your 6 different actions are marked on there. And you where you land, it determines what action you get. You recruit these workers, which determine what resources you have, and you move a cart into cities, and if you have the correct resources, you can build those cities. One of the interesting things is that those workers that you recruit kind of go around your little star rondel thing, and whichever number is pointed towards the center is the value of resource, or the number of resources that they contribute. And then after every time you've built something, they have to rotate, and it might go up, it might go down, and there's a final ending point that once you've spent that one, then they go away and you have to buy them again. There's also one other thing that's kind of unique about this game is that the score track, you don't just add up your points. You put on these tokens that make them score in bunches. For example, that if in front of your the score track, if in front of your piece there's a 5 and a 7, and you score 10 points, well, you can only move up past the 5 one. You don't have enough to get past the 7 one. But you do get a compensation for that, and you get these scrolls that you can turn in for money, but there's limitations as far as that goes. But that's pretty much how the game works. So when I talked about this in post-Gen Con, I kind of said, oh, I kind of regret not buying that. What was your impression of?
Well, I thought I would have to play it a lot more because it seems a bit fiddly. It is the theme of European medieval craftsmen doing stuff, which is pretty worn out, or that's used a lot. Let's just say used a lot. You don't say worn out because that makes me sound like an elitist, and I'm not an elitist. It's just used a lot, okay? Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, you're not an elitist, but you care a lot more about theme than I do. I look at it and I'm like, whatever, I don't care. If the gameplay's good, I don't care. It could be My Little Ponies, and if it was a great game, I would grit my teeth and play it. But it's not. So anyway, I get your point, though. You're right. It is a theme that's been done a lot. But the production values in this are good. I mean, it's just from Queen Games, and they always make nice games. And mechanically, I liked what I saw too.
Well, mechanically, I liked what I saw until I was watching it being demoed at the Gen Con, and on more than one occasion, at least twice in 10 minutes, somebody was going to do something, and they go, no, you can't move that. You got to move this, because there's a rondel within your little personal thing, and then there's hexes outside that you're turning. So there's stuff that's moving inside, and there's stuff that's moving outside, which equates to, I hate to use this term, fiddly.
I don't know if I would call it fiddly. I tend to think of fiddly as things with a lot of parts. I think, but when I played my demo, which was a shortened version of the game, 4 players, one person had troubles figuring out how that worked. The other 3 of us were fine. But I get your point, is that it might not be for everybody, because it is a little bit different. Wait, what do I do? How do I do this? I actually think that it's got enough moving parts that, yeah, I can see where you might call it fiddly, but I think it's got enough to keep it interesting. Any simpler, and it just wouldn't be an interesting game.
Well, yeah, I see. The fiddly can be balanced by the gameplay. That is true. I've played a lot of games that I think are fiddly, but they're not fiddly because the gameplay is so intriguing. So, point taken.
Well, I kind of have this. I'm wavering on whether I'm going to get it myself. I suspect you wouldn't be buying it, but if I do buy it, I'll make you play a full game, and you can decide how it is.
And you yell at me, don't touch that, touch this. Well, don't touch that, touch this.
Well, that's pretty much normal. So
it's true.
Well, it is. There's certain games that require a conductor when there's new people, where you just kind of have to keep an eye and make sure until they've got it down and can manage it themselves. And I do have a tendency to do that. Okay, well, that was Queen's Architect. The next game we're going to look at is Rum Bones. Rum Bones is from Cool Mini or Not. It is 2 to 6 players, 30-minute fantasy pirate tactical combat game. So this is mostly about ship-to-ship combat, where you have 2 ships sitting next to each other. Everybody gets 5 heroes that each have their own special powers. Plus you have these crew pieces, and there's deck guns, and at the end of it, you roll to see if a Kraken comes out, or Kraken. I can't remember how you say that word. But that's kind of what this game is if you like minis, there's a ton of minis in this game. But this Kickstarter for this raised over $700,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Cool Mini or Not, they know how to make minis, and they know how to do successful games. So this is great for that. Unfortunately, I think it's based on some type of a video games gameplay engine, not a system, but an engine, and I'm not familiar with that. So I wasn't too hip to all the intricacies of when I was reading this. Some of the terms kind of went over my head.
I saw that they referred to that it used some system, but I had no idea it was a video game. I thought it might be another game. Yeah, that doesn't matter to me. But I like tactical combat games. This seems like it's got a lot going on in it. It is an expensive game, though. I mean, I think even the online price is like $80, which is roughly, which is pretty expensive. So it's one of those, I kind of want to try it before I buy it. I see a lot that intrigues me, but I already am dumping a lot of monies into the Imperial Salt minigame, so I don't know if I need a second one.
Yeah, if you're dipping your toe into this one, that we were just looking, and there's a lot of expansions. So this thing is, would you dip your toe in, you might just you're going to be waist deep before you even know it.
Yeah, I don't know if those expansions were what are they the add-ons or whether they were the rewards for getting stretch rewards. That's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, I did look, and there's like 6 or 7 of them that are going to be coming out over the time here. So yeah, I guess I really want to play this game, and then depends on how much it hooks me on whether I'd be interested. But hey, it really does look. It's a nice looking game, that's for sure.
Yeah, it looks good. They have awesome minis, and they have the variable heroes that have 6 variable heroes, so they have different powers. So I'd be curious to see how those work on rating the kind of the undead opponents that in the Kraken and all that fun stuff. So that might be that might be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it could be. Okay, well that was Rum and Bones. The next game is the Grizzled. The Grizzled is another game from Cool Mini or Not. It's from some French designers who I'm not going to torture their names for them. 2 to 5 player card game. It's a cooperative card game where the theme is World War I. And I'll actually read what the description the publisher wrote. Each round, the current team leader will choose how many cards each player draws. Then, going around the table, players must either play a card in their hand or back out of the mission. Each card represents either threats to the team, such as mortar shells or weather conditions, or negative personality traits, such as frightened or obsessive. At the end of the round, more cards are added to the draw deck. The game only ends if the players can deplete the draw deck as well as their hands without letting time run out. So I believe I did look at it a little bit, and the way it works is that as you play the cards, if 3 of any particular threat come out, then that you fail that mission. On your turn, you have the option to either play some trial cards, play a good luck charm, make a speech, which allows other people to discard threat cards, or withdraw and support one of the people around you. So that's a rough. I mean, I'm not even sure how this game is played. I did not read the rules closely, but what do you think?
I first heard about this game actually, not when it was a game. It was actually part of the news where during that Charlie Hebdo terrorist attack that happened, one of the artists that was killed is the artist in this game. So that's how I heard about that. That makes it interesting, if not anything else.
Well, I did not know that about the artist, and the artistry is part of the appeal of this game, at least for some people, because I do think it's a matter of taste, because the artwork is very comic booky with heavy black lines, and that's not going to appeal to everybody, but I think it's okay.
It's very evocative. It makes you, it's like a little bit, tiny little bit of art history. It kind of is evocative of World War I. I mean, it's the illustrations kind of make you think, oh, it's early 20th century kind of art.
Maybe. I don't really see it. But.
So the other interesting aspect of this game is the cooperative part. Allows you to either contribute or hold back based on the end game conditions, and I find that interesting in a game that has a lot of elements on decisions that are made, whether to do something or hold back in order for maybe it'll be better to do it later. So that's always an intriguing part of a cooperative game.
Well, and the other interesting part is that every round there's a leader who says, this is how many cards everybody's going to draw. So I'm interested to see how that particular part plays about it. But yeah, cooperative game. The other interesting part that to me is that, everybody can have like phobias. That they're scared of something or they might be traumatized, and it affects what you can do in later parts of the game. So that sounds interesting. So you're interested in this game?
Mildly interested, yeah. If somebody had it, I would say, oh, I read a fair amount that I would like to play it once or twice. Come on.
Yeah, I would try it. So that was the Grizzled. Next, as we go from World War I to Awesome Kingdom Tower of Hateskull from IDW Games, designed by Kevin Wilson. 2 to 4 player, 30 minutes, where the theme is that you're a dungeon crawl, but really it's a hand management game where you're trying to move around. This is another one. I'm just going to read the description that they have. A lightweight, fast, and funny dungeon crawling game in which players compete to be the most awesome hero after 3 days of adventuring. Players enter the dungeon as one of 8 epic characters such as the Rage Barian, Prestidigimancer, or Paladude, with each character being bestowed with an appropriately amazing ability. The dungeon is formed out of a circle of dungeon wall tiles with dungeon cards filling most of the spaces and heroes filling out the rest. A day lasts 3 turns, and on your turn, you play an action card from your hand, normally moving your hero around the circle of cards and skipping over other heroes, and claiming a card on which you land, which could be a treasure or a monster, which could wound you, or a trap, or even a magic item. Cards are worth various amounts of awesomeness, and you want to be the most awesome hero at the end of the 3rd day. So I think that they believe their game is awesome.
Yeah, the awesomeness, because they mentioned a guy named Paladude. So the designer of this game is Kevin Wilson, who's a local guy who has a very recent history of putting together light, funny games, lightweight games with a real dark sense of humor. So this is obviously, not obviously, this is probably most likely along that line. So that it's worth it. That's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, this kind of game, this wacky game, sometimes they're fun. Sometimes they're just, no matter what kind of artwork and names they put on them, they're drudgery. But so far from what I've seen, I mean, this looks like it could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun. There's a character in there called Rocketeer, which is a guy playing a lute that's got fire shooting out, which is a very evocative of a recent movie called Mad Max Fury Road, which is cool. I don't know if they have that intellectual property, probably not, but it's still funny. But games that have purposely try to be funny and the jokes wear thin is tough stuff.
That is one thing. Munchkin, which is they sell a ton of those games, but I have found that the gameplay does not support the humor. I really actually kind of like playing Munchkin the first time I see those cards, but once I've seen the cards and I've already heard the jokes, the gameplay doesn't sustain the game. Here's hoping that this one is going to be better than that.
Yeah, the jokes don't wear thin. That's our hope for this game.
Well, so it's that the gameplay can support the game even if you've heard the jokes 10 times before. That's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was, what is it again? Oh yeah, Awesome Kingdom, Tower of Hateskull. The next game is Rattle Battle Grab the Loot, which we've talked about a couple times on this show. It's from Portal Games, 2 to 5 players, 45 to 60 minutes. The theme is pirates, and it's a dice game. The first time we talked about this, I didn't know much about how it played, but I can at least give a brief overview of it. It comes with custom dice. The main part of the gameplay is that you take those dice and you drop them into a box. And after that, it plays like a miniature game where those little dice are representing your ships and what die faces on them represents what they can do. There's also scenarios that can change what's inside there, like you can put islands in the box top. So there's a lot more going on there. When you actually build up your ships, you actually use the components to put them together, things like that. You actually saw this game in person, right?
I saw this game in person, and their components do, in fact, look great, and there are a lot of them. There are so many dice and so many little chits to build your boats and so much stuff on the table. Oh my lord, this is a full game.
From what I've seen, they actually do look great. The thing that kind of surprised me the first time I really kind of saw the videos when they're putting out there is that once you drop those dice in, it really plays like a miniature game. You know, you can move this die from there to the width of a card, or you can shoot the length of a card, and I may have those wrong, but you get the idea, in that you're playing, and those dice represent your ship and represent spatially where they are in relation to the other ships. I didn't know it was going to be that kind of game.
I didn't know that either, and I've actually watched it being played, and I could tell the people that were playing the game weren't having as much fun as the game would represent, because quite frankly it was the point where it was obvious there was just too much luck element going on in this thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are dice, so any dice game's going to have... I'll have to play it to see whether it's too much luck or not. But the thing that kind of surprised me is once I really saw... first time I saw this game, I saw the components, I just kind of read about it, and I thought, oh, this is going to be, a fairly light family game. But watching the videos, it's a bit heavier than I expected. I mean, there's that whole treating it dice as miniatures adds, the videos I saw, there were people going, so I was like, oh, I guess it's not quite as light as I thought. I'm still interested in it, though.
Not me. I've saw it being played. I didn't see anybody having fun while they were playing it. That's the thing. If I see people, I've seen it being played by at least 10 people. I didn't see that many people actually having fun. So it's a pass at this point for me.
The next game is Ryu. Ryu is from Moonster Games by Kim Sato. It's for 2 to 5 players, roughly 45 minutes. The theme is that it's about you're trying to build these steampunk type dragons. There's islands that actually work as a rondel, and the other main mechanic in there is there's some cut the cake splits in there. So what it is you have a ring of islands. Each of those islands represents an action. And on your turn, I think you can move up to 2 spaces. Whatever island you land on, you take that action. Sometimes when you land on them, you have to flip it over to its other side and it can't be used anymore until someone does something that resets them all. Another thing is one of the islands is your island, and if other people take that action, what they do is they draw 5 cubes out of the bag and divide them up however they want, but then either 3 or 2 or 1 and 4, but you get first choice of which pile do you want. Do you want the 3 or do you want the 2? There's also some mechanics that allow you to steal things from other player, but it's kind of a gamble. I tried it when I played it, it didn't work. So it's just go around and get the resources to build your dragon. Whoever builds their dragon first wins.
Yeah, it looks like an intriguing game. The components are nice. There's a big purple dragon. That's always good, a big purple dragon. But other than that, I didn't see, like, I was watching it being played at Gen Con. I didn't see that many people having that much fun.
Well, the thing about it is that the rondel always limits your action. And I know people might argue because it's not an actual rondel, it's a circle of islands that you move around. But it's the same sort of thing. You can only move a few spaces, and it determines that limits your actions, and then the fact that they get flipped over limits them even more. So sometimes it's just like, I'm on the completely wrong side of this ring. I got to get around to the other side. I hope someone else flips those islands over so I can start using them again. So the feel of it for me was it's a Euro cube pusher with a Asian steampunk theme. That's kind of what it was to me.
Yeah, I saw people drawing cubes out of a bag and then flipping tiles to build parts of a dragon, and I thought, that's kind of not intriguing.
I always like that cut the cake mechanic where I cut it and you choose the slices. So that part I actually did like, but I tried to avoid using other people's islands. It wasn't until later in the game I realized, it's not that bad. Okay, I'm giving them stuff, but I'm getting stuff too. But overall, I was kind of not really all that thrilled with it. It was okay, but it was not one I was, do you have this in stock? Kind of thing. But
I didn't see anybody having fun with it, and I didn't read anybody having fun.
I wouldn't say that. I think that's probably an overstatement.
Oh, well, okay. Maybe it might be. Okay.
The other people I played with liked it.
Okay.
I just kind of was like, I'm not really all that interested in it. Okay, that was Ryu. The next one is another re-release. This is Mission Red Planet. It's been out of print for a while, but it's being released by Fantasy Flight. 2 to 6 player, 45 to 90 minute, another steampunk game, this time in space. There's role selection and area majority. The way this works is that you have these rocket ships that are going to be going to Mars, and on your turn you have 9 character cards. Everybody secretly chooses one, and then you reveal them, and there's a priority order that they execute, that they'll do things like put some people in the ship or move some people around on Mars. Once a ship is full, it launches to Mars, and its destination is already on that, and it just goes right there. Once you land on an unexplored territory, you'll flip over a marker that'll tell you what kind of resources in there, and different resources are worth different amount of points. And there's periodic area majority scoring, and there's some event cards and some other things that, but that's pretty much the game. My understanding is that this is not just a reprint, but they have actually tweaked the rules in an attempt to improve the game.
Yeah, I heard they added a couple of new wrinkles to it. Playing this game, there are 9 characters in the game. Not all of them can mess with you, but a few of them can. And when this would happen playing back in the thing, my favorite thing, I had a little catchphrase that I would use. I would say, plan aborted, mission thwarted.
Yeah, because there's Saboteur just blows up a rocket and everybody in it, and that would be a good time to say that. But this mostly is an area majority game with some secret goals thrown in. But I can't remember what it is, but I think periodically you score the area majority, and at the end of the game you have some secret goals and you get some points for that too.
Yeah, there's a new zone, and there's a 2-player mode now, and you can play 6 players. I don't know if you'd want to play 6 players at this kind of a game. Might be a little long, but and there's some new cards, so they tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah. I think what they did is they added the 2 moons of Mars as some new areas that you can go on. The old game was pretty good, so I guess I'd be interested in this, but I don't think I need to buy it since I already have the old version.
Oh well, yeah, that's great.
Although it depends. I'll have to see. It's one of those things that it's like, the way the redesign rules, boy, that's better. Then I'll have this old game, and I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that was Mission Red Planet. The last game we're going to take a look at here is called Leaving Earth. This is from Luminaris Games. It's both designed, and the artist is Joseph Fatula. It's from 1 to 4 players, 60 to 100 minutes. The theme is rocketry, where you're trying to get from the Earth to various other bodies in our solar system, but it's a card game with some risk management and planning. First, you'll build the solar system with the cards. Here's Earth, here's low Earth orbit, and so on and so forth. You'll research. When you research things, you buy the advancements, and they have flaws on them, and you'll test them to find out what the flaws are and eliminate those flaws. You'll build spaceships, you'll purchase components, you'll assemble it all, you'll launch it, and you'll expend rockets. And really one of the core mechanics of this game is how much thrust you need from your rockets is the mass of what you're trying to move times the difficulty of the maneuver that you do it.
So yeah, Joseph Fatula, he designed this thing, and he's also the artist behind it. And he just said that there's straight up math in this. Thrust equals mass times difficulty. So he must straight up be a science geek, which makes me intrigued to the game when you have a guy who designed his own game, and he the graphic designer, and there's some science geek credibility. So yeah, that sounds good to me.
Well, yeah, the science games always intrigue me. I'm always interested in a good science game, but the fun factor is not always there. Sometimes it's too much of a learning thing and not really all that much fun. But this is coming from Luminaris Group, and I don't know if they have a distributor or not, but so far I've only seen you been able to order it from their site. But I will say I already pre-ordered it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was looking this up, and I was like, oh, well, it's probably a little bit expensive for what you get, but just in reading about, they do have the rules posted online, and I kind of skimmed through them. I'm like, yeah, it seems like something I might like to have around.
And yeah, the gameplay is also posted online, and how these square cards all fit together makes for a unique board, and all, you have the Earth, and then eventually you can link it up to the moon. I mean, it's not travel from here to here, but it all fits together.
It is travel from here to here.
But it all fits together, and it makes this kind of composite picture that looks pretty cool. So yeah, everything about this is intriguing to me. There's nothing on here that says, oh, this doesn't look intriguing at all. Everything looks great.
Yeah, and the reason why the game like this is that this example picture I have up here just shows if you're going from Earth to the moon, but then you can build on that and go to Mars or Venus or one of Mars's moons, things like that. So you can kind of control how long it's played. I don't know. It's one of those. It's like I just kind of was in the mood, and so I bought this game.
That's why I like you. No, that's the only reason I like you. But I was thinking, what if you wouldn't have done that? This is I'm not a big Kickstarter guy, but yeah, this one I would have kickstarted.
I did see people questioning why they didn't go to Kickstarter, but if you go to this Luminaris website, they are mostly a publisher, and I think games is just something they do on the side. So they're not really. They have an old school website. It looks like it's from 1990s. It's like just mostly text and some boxes and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. This is not going to be a game for everybody. I can tell that right now, though.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. Well, the game, the game's supposed to be set in 1956, so maybe that's when the web page is supposed to be from 1956.
It would just be green text on a black background. If that's what it was. Okay, well that was Leaving Earth, and that was this edition of the Ice Dice Board Game Show. Join us again another time. See ya.
Bye.